Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jakub, and today I want to tell you about a crazy story that I had to go through in order to be finally so sure about my gender. So sit back, grab a coffee, and let's dive right into it. Disclaimer: this video is meant to have educational purposes. So it's meant for you if you're the type of person that wants to get more knowledge on this or just wants to get to know me better. But on the other hand, it's not for people who already know they're gonna write a comment about it at the end and it's not gonna be positive. This video is also not for people who are already convinced that having different sex than a gender is a mental illness. So just to know before we dive into it. So let's go. I would like to start by saying that I got exposed to the LGBTQ community at a really young age, and not through real life as you might have expected, but through social media and mostly TikTok. Yeah, I first found out about gay people when I was like 8 or 9, and honestly, being raised in Eastern Europe means being raised to be homophobic and racist. But I was lucky enough to have my own liberal opinion really soon in my life, so this didn't quite affect me. And I think I could call it an ally from like 11 years old, so this was not as dramatic. But I have been a mentally strong child, kind of. I used to much rather sit at the adults table and discuss serious topics than just play football with the other kids, so I wasn't quite fitting in. I first took part in the LGBTQ community when I was like 12 years old, thinking I was bi, and at this age I started wearing skirts and dresses, some more feminine clothing, and even makeup, but my whole video is dedicated specifically to that topic, so if you're interested, you might want to check it out. At this age, I even became a member of a friend group of 5 people where everyone was queer already, so it was much easier for me to fit in and like feel better and express myself, so that helped me a lot. And since I was 13 years old, I even came out as gay, which is still true to me to this day. Everyone knew me at this point for wearing skirts, and some even knew I was attracted to guys, but no one was quite sure about my gender identity, including me. And of course, I always used to say I'm a guy because I was assigned that at birth, obviously. But there would be times when I thought I was like gender fluid, non-binary, or be my boy, or etc, etc. And I was all into learning those different gender combinations and their flags. At this time, I was becoming so overwhelmed with thinking about it, and sometimes I even thought there's something so wrong with me, and it was my friends who helped me so many times, and I think they do deserve the credit. Thank you so much, Elle, David, Vali, Kai, and Ada. Those are my savers, and they're the main characters. Yeah. Merci. So, as I said, I was so confused so many times. But instead of telling you about every single inconvenience I had, I'm gonna tell you about the major one. Her name is Elle. So she first showed up in like winter 2023 when I almost did a coming out, but then I got scared and I wasn't sure and blah blah blah. But so the first person I ever told was my bestie Elle in the beginning of summer 23, who gave me so much confidence. I eventually told everyone in my Insta close friend stories, and 1 month later. And when I tell you, I'll be the luckiest trans girl on the planet, if that ever lasted. So once I posted the coming out story, everyone started saying me things like, "Oh my god girl, I always knew it, like, you're already one of us, or you're already one of the prettiest girls I know," etc, etc. Everyone was talking about me as Elle, and not as Jakub, and everyone was calling me in female pronouns, so I was so happy, I felt like I was dreaming, literally. Even when I went out with my friends, they were basically acting like if I was a girl my whole lifetime. And I even came out to my mom while watching The Devil Wears Prada, which is still my favorite movie. But I hope she doesn't still think that, because I haven't told her anything since then. But this is kind of all the experience of being trans that I ever had, because after a month I realized that this also doesn't feel quite right to me. So I also announced it on my Instagram, which also went quite well. And no one was mad at me, no one was hugely disrespecting me or saying bad things to me. And since then, I can finally proudly say I'm a male. I genuinely feel like a guy. And at the same time, I love wearing feminine clothing, of course. And I do not have to pretend anything. This experience has been priceless to me. I was privileged enough to be perceived as a girl for the whole month by people who mattered to me the most, while also being confident in myself. I really felt great. But I'm disappointed by one thing, and I think I did a really bad service to the trans community. I've never to this day talked about this, but I feel like many people who have supported me back then in my little Elle era now can take the trans community less seriously just because of me, and I'm genuinely disappointed of myself for doing this to my past and current trans friends, because this may be just a little crazy summer story for me, but it's a whole life and it's an everyday struggle for them. Thank you for listening to me. Really, this was a brutal thing to get off my chest. I also hope you learned something new, whether about me or about my past gender issues, so you may better understand some of the trans people you may have in your life, but maybe your own feelings. Anyway, that's all for today. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed watching it. Consider subscribing if you want to see more of me, or if you want to get me know more personally. I recommend following my Instagram at _SLEZACEQ_, and I hope to see you in the next video, or one that is already out. I love you. Bye.